And I thought, Jay, you're kidding yourself. You've been drawn into whatever's going on with municipal politics. I got to do a pilot project with the Public Matters podcast, so I got more engaged with the city and the issues that were going on over that time frame. And I just said, I'm silly not to want to jump in and see if I can't make a difference to help out somehow, because I'm not dead yet.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. And joining me on the podcast today is a person that I am very familiar with. You were my boss for how many years? I'm not sure.
25.
25 years.
1990. It was a hot August day.
Was it a Tuesday? Yeah. That was our joke at the station. Yeah. Yeah. Jay Hitchen was the program director for 1270 Chat when you began. And then we morphed into New Country 1270 Chat, and then it morphed into the Wild 94.5.
Oh, don't forget FM. We did that transition in between. That was big.
That was a cold January day when we did that too. That was big. Yeah. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Porch.
I tell you, I love this new iteration of you, Brian.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. I mean, it's great, to find life after. And let's face it, I mean, we've both spent a lifetime in community service. Mm-hmm. And essentially, that's what you're doing here. You're offering a very valuable service to Medicine Hat. So thank you for jumping up as your grandkids encouraged you to do.
Yeah, they were the ones that said, Dad, you got to do a podcast. And I said, what's a podcast? I wasn't
Typical
sure.
BK. What?
I'm so focused on what's happening in front of me that, everything else is periphery. But to the matter at hand, your candidacy for City Council on October 20th. You tried 4 years ago. Wasn't successful. So
it wasn't even close. And I'll tell you why. I got lots of reasons why.
Yeah.
Basically, I put my name in because I thought it would be a good idea. It was 2021. COVID was still fresh. Public forums weren't really in my playbook or door to door, or much of a budget for that matter. Mm-hmm. We had just had our first grandchild, and if I wanted to hold her, I had to make sure that I was healthy, and nothing was going to get in the way. So I don't say I ran last time. I put my name in. It was a learning experience, and it was well worth it. And I basically convinced myself that I didn't want to get into public office. Not again, not to be under that microscope, like we always were. Mm-hmm. And then my wife left me for a vacation with her sister.
I'm glad you finished that sentence.
Thank you. Bev is still there. And I was left alone. I had the grandkids for a little bit, and I came home. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking around the house, and I thought, Jay, you're kidding yourself. You've been drawn into whatever's going on with municipal politics. I got to do a pilot project with the Public Matters podcast, so I got more engaged with the city and the issues that were going on over that time frame. And I just said, I'm silly not to want to jump in and see if I can't make a difference to help out somehow, because I'm not dead yet. So it's just one of those things that, a matter of civic duty that I thought it was my time to step up. And if I was going to do it this time, and I find this funny, maybe you will too. I messaged Bev while she was out in Nova Scotia. Says, hon, I think I'm going to put my name in for council. 2 days went by. She never responded. I collected all the signatures. I went down. I submitted my papers. Bev called me up, and I said, so, that's it. I'm in. She goes, what? I thought you were kidding.
No, you're not kidding.
I said, not this time. And I says, if we're going in all the way. We're not going to do any half measures this time. We're actually going to get out there, and we are going to run the race, start to finish.
So how has this campaign differed from 2021 for you?
I have signs.
I've seen your signs. Nice green and black colors.
Yeah, I hope it kind of highlights my background in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
A nice, simple, effective message. And let's face it, in this campaign with 39 council candidates and the other numbers which I haven't compiled, but I mean we're well over 50 names that people are going to have to consider. Well, probably over 60. But name recognition is going to mean a lot. And my 25 years at Monarch Broadcasting, Pattison Broadcasting, don't really mean much because I was behind the scenes for most of that. Yes, my voice was out there, and occasionally I'd pull the odd on-air shift, but I wasn't the forward face of the radio stations. So my name isn't that big around Medicine Hat. Yes, I've got all types of connections, business connections with nonprofit societies. You know, I've met with these people, key people at the city over decades of living here and being involved in our own version of community service. So putting that forward, I believe, is going to make a huge difference in this campaign. And then actually getting out there and speaking with the individuals, participating in the forums and the podcasts.
Yeah. You said something that really caught my attention, and I think you spoke to a lot of people who feel the same way when you were at the forum at the Esplanade, when you talked about raising your two boys in Medicine Hat and then watching them leave Medicine Hat for other opportunities.
Yeah, my eldest son said, "Your worst nightmare? Your worst nightmare?" Yeah, I'm proud of them. I'm incredibly proud. They're both professional men, but I have to travel 5.5 hours through the back roads, summer and winter. Summer, we'd been traveling a lot lately because those little kids, there's 3 grandkids, all under 5. Like Violet turns 5 in 12 days. Mm-hmm. And I told her, I says, "Granddad can't be here for your birthday this year." "Why, Granddad? I want you here." And I said, "Well, I got some stuff I got to do." Ouch. Not that she understands,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, and that's the key. You want to create opportunities so that our children and our children's children can grow up and live and have a life in Medicine Hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have so much to offer here, and I know that my oldest son would have loved to have settled here. If there would have been an avenue for him, if there would have been some incentive for him to open up his family practice in Medicine Hat at the time that he was looking around, even an internship, something that would have, continued his education and allowed him to set down roots. Because he married a Medicine Hat girl, but now they're both in Edmonton. And it's really... what does warm my heart is the boys now live like 5 minutes apart. So Kobe's 2 girls and Steve's son, they get together, the cousins, and they're all playing. And they support each other while they're in Edmonton. So there is that solace for me.
So how do we make sure that future generations have a life in Medicine Hat?
Well, it's something I think people have talked about in politics for about 125 years. Do you have any idea what that is, Brian?
I have been around for a lot of that time.
Economic development.
I've said that on the podcast here, that every election that I've covered since 1978, that's been one of the top things. And if we keep talking about it, maybe we're not doing it right.
I think maybe we spend too much time talking. I mean, I was buoyed by the... And this is all pretty new to me, but now there's going to be an advisory board for economic development. So that's great. So, I mean, we can talk some more, but we need to find some action that really delivers results. And for me, economic development is somewhat akin to building a brand with a radio station. Mm-hmm. You create a product that people love, that they can't do without. You attract the most listeners. Then you attract the most revenue. You build, you grow, you build. It all comes together. I mean, you have to have one to have the other. Now, a municipality is somewhat different because we can grow industry that will grow population. So those are things that we really need to look at. Like, what are those industries that fit with our community? And the new conversation around a regional approach, I have some positive feelings about. I need to find out more about it. And I'm actually planning to get together with one of the ward candidates this week to find out what those possibilities could be with the city of Medicine Hat.
You're referencing Cypress County and the ward system.
In particular, Cypress County, yes.
Yeah. People always used to say, well, we need those big industries, the smokestack industries, to bring in 300, 400 jobs. But they're not out there like they used to be.
And I can't say there's a lot of people who want smokestacks.
Yeah, well, that was the...
I know what you mean, Brian.
Yeah.
I think what we're looking at in the future is probably things that revolve around electricity.
Mm-hmm.
We have got one of the most valuable commodities under our control in the city of Medicine Hat. And in the next 50 years, electricity, I believe, is going to be an incredible currency. And this is in particular as we try to grasp the impact of AI. When you ask ChatGPT one question, that's enough power to light a 100-watt light bulb. How many questions are being asked every second? Like, it is beyond my comprehension at this point in time. And it's only going to grow more and more. You can't get into any sector now without people talking about the impact of AI.
So why not Medicine Hat?
Why not?
Yeah. I know Lorne Taylor years ago, back in the 90s, when he was an Alberta cabinet minister in NMLA, he said Medicine Hat could become another Silicon Valley. We had the people here that had the knowledge through, I believe it was Alan Joyce and his company that developed a point-of-sale system. AutoStar is still here.
Yes.
We had all
and have done incredibly well.
We had all the people out at Suffield that had, lots of expertise in different areas, and yet it never happened. We had the power. The internet allows people now to work from anywhere. So quality of life in Medicine Hat should be attracting those people to come here and live a good life and still make a good income.
Without smokestacks.
Without the smokestacks.
Not that we can't have a few.
Yeah.
We've got some awfully good industry in town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things, that I always used to preach whenever I was trying to attract the right personalities to come to Medicine Hat. It was always about our diverse economy, how we've got all these different industries. We don't just rely on one. We've got agriculture, we've got ranching, we've got carbon production, we've got this huge array, and we've got two major intersecting highways and access to the American border. We've got all these wonderful things that are here. So we need to capitalize on those more.
You mentioned branding.
Yes.
The last 4 years, I think the brand of Medicine Hat has taken
we've suffered
a bruising.
Yes, we've suffered.
So how do we, move on?
Well, let's conduct ourselves professionally. Let's, come up and continue to come up with positive ideas and actions that reflect on our community. Trust is something that's easily lost, and it takes a long time to get back. But let's face it, most of our angst, I believe, comes from the national profile. I think in Medicine Hat, we can actually move beyond that a little bit slower than the rest of the world. By now, Toronto's forgotten about us, pretty much. But we haven't, so our memories are a little bit longer. So the new council will have to get out into the public. They will have to be, that forward face, as we've talked about. Have those conversations. Answer the tough questions. How do we restore trust? Day by day, person by person.
You mentioned the national memory. The one memory that the national media keep bringing up is when Ted Clugston said there is no homeless in Medicine Hat.
Yes, that was maybe not the right phrase.
Yeah, because I know every morning when I drive into the downtown core, I can see the people who are camped, although this morning they have moved on from Armory Park, but they have been there in their numbers. Now they were underneath the canopy town square, but they're out there, and there are people who are unhoused for whatever reason, and we need to find a solution to that. And I don't know if Jay Hitchen has a solution, but I'm sure he'd be willing to work to find one.
We have people here that work for the city that had the incredible, I'm not going to say fortune, but foresight to be able to tackle homelessness. Before Jamie Rogers was involved, I mean, she came down from Grand Prairie, if I'm remembering, when I sat down with her. And she brought a wealth of experience at that time, and I think she's been with the city now 12, 14 years. So when we say that we ended homelessness, as the announcement was, it actually was we reached what was called functional zero. And I won't do this as much justice as Jamie can. But it was one of those things that before we didn't know what homeless meant. We had no idea. There was no national definition for homelessness. So we actually in medicine had achieved functional zero twice, with the previous definition way back when, and then with the newer definition when it was established nationally. And that lasted for about 7 months. But the population that you're referring to in particular, I do believe is more transient. And their numbers don't reflect the majority of the homeless population. They do reflect on it negatively, and they give people a general pause that all homelessness causes crime and dysfunction and drug abuse and addictions of every sort, mental anguish. And that's not entirely true. You know, there's a rather large percentage of the population living below the poverty line. They rely on our local services. These aren't bad people. These are people that have been dealt a raw hand. Maybe they lost their jobs during COVID. Maybe their houses were repossessed. Something unfortunate has happened to them, and they don't have the social network that some of us do. If either of our children suffered in any way, we would give up everything we had to take care of them. These people don't have that safety net. So as a community, we need to unite and figure out how best we can address these concerns. And it is not an easy answer. It is not an overnight answer. It is not one that's going to come solely out of the mouth of Jay Hitchen. It's going to be a collective effort on behalf of a majority of Hatters to come forward with solutions to the issue as opposed to just complaining about the impact on their lives.
You said that you were able to work with the city doing a podcast, exploring some of the different things within the city of Medicine Hat. Did that give you a different perspective on what the city is all about? Because from the outside, people say, oh, they're doing this, so they should be doing that. I mean, everybody's an expert. They all have the answers. But when you were working a little closer to the people in the city, did you get a different view of what the problems that they face look like?
No more than any engaged citizen could be. And that was the key issue, engagement. So yes, I had the opportunity to sit down and discuss issues with individuals that were making decisions. And that did give me that insight, which we shared publicly. But it was also signing up for every email, reading the press releases, being engaged in what City Hall does. I've heard countless times, well, the city never told me they were going to be doing that. You know, there was no discussion about what happened. I said, oh, yeah, that was actually discussed over a year ago. You know, no, that plan came out in 2013. This council did not create that plan. You know, you have to actually invest a considerable amount of time to understand everything that goes on in City Hall. And the special view that I had for the limited time I did and the efforts that I have taken over the last 4 years to understand it even better is still just a speck of everything that goes on. It's a massive, it's the largest employer in the city, is the city. So, I mean, we have to take that into consideration. Like, you know, it's very complex.
Job of being a city councilor is complex, and one of the tasks is looking after the utilities. There is the idea that maybe some of that should be removed from city council and put into a municipally controlled corporation. Others say, well, 120 years we've been looking after our utilities just fine, so why do we need to do that?
I'm currently in the camp of why aren't we still doing that, and what happened or what changed that we no longer thought we possessed the skills to do that. I mean, city council doesn't make all of the planning, right? We approve the plans. We approve, whatever the budgets are. We have to look at those things, and we have to understand what we're looking at. But at what point did we, as a council, and I will use that loosely, lose that focus or that clarity of how the business operates? Is it complex? Absolutely. Will much of that be beyond my comprehension? Of course. I spent my life as a broadcaster. I could probably sit here and talk for 60 minutes about the effectiveness of Carbon Catcher without even understanding how it operates. But, that's a little look behind the curtain because, you can grasp a few facts and you can kind of tell a story based on that. But the biggest job is going to be to actually nail down what's changed, what's happened. As far as an MCC, I really have my doubts that it will return the benefits that the city of Medicine Hat wants. They have an initial expense somewhere around $5 million to start this. Well, we don't spend that kind of money easily. And if you're going to make that type of an investment, you want to have a guaranteed return. And when you're dealing with commodities, there's no guarantees.
None. Salmon Solar Project sort of fits into that as well because the city has already put a considerable amount of money into that. We were talking earlier about the need for more power.
Yes.
Yes, and AI and all that. Salmon Solar, thumbs up or thumbs down?
We have to look at the broad picture. We have commissioned a study at considerable cost to look at the viability of doing the solar farm. Why wouldn't we wait for that study before we give it thumbs up or thumbs down? I have great optimism that it could return benefits. I really do. Because let's face it, I've heard this more than once, and this was relatively new to me, but every major business that would come into Medicine Hat wants an alternative power source. They don't want you relying on a singular source. So until we have that alternative, whatever it is, if it's solar, if it's SMR, if it's hydrogen, whatever the next iteration will be, we need to grasp it. And why wouldn't we as citizens, with the depletion of our natural gas revenues, look at a possible replacement, whatever it may be, so that we can guarantee that down the road we have this Medicine Hat advantage.
Oh, there's that term.
Of course. For me it was always because I live in a great city. I can walk. My kids can walk to school without great fear. I mean, to me, that was always the advantage. It wasn't that my utility bill was $20 less a month than the people in Red Deer. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's great, but that's a relative thing.
We come around to affordability, another issue that has been talked about a lot in this campaign, and that's property taxes and utility rates. You just said that the city doesn't spend a lot of money lightly, but there are those who would like to spend on many projects, including a Southside Recreation Center. And I believe the ball is already in motion from the outgoing council that they're going to go a little further down that road.
I have to give kudos to the outgoing council. They've been under probably more of a microscope than any other council in history. They have been under incredibly adverse conditions. And as their last hurrah, they made some decisions. And I salute them for that, because this has been a discussion for a decade or more. I, as a resident of the South Side, have been eagerly awaiting for my little kiddies to be able to go to something like this. And my little kitty is now 40, and there's still nothing in the South. If we want to create this economic development, if we want to have the companies coming in, they want to have their employees and their families able to enjoy a comfortable life. And also the tourism aspect of it. how much do we lose down the road because, well, there's really not that much to do in this little sleepy burg, but it could be, hey, rather than Drumheller, and not dissing Drumheller, but they've created a wonderful little destination in their lovely little community that people flock to every summer. And what truly do they have that attracts them? They've branded this big old dinosaur, and God forbid you tear that dinosaur down.
It's on the ballot up there now.
There are things going on that are sacrosanct. But anyway, back to the Southside Recreation Center. Yes, I'm in favor of it. And I would have voted similarly. And I do realize there will be taxation implications to that. But also let's temper that with the fact that there will be third-party interest, and that will decrease the overall demand. But you can't promise what you don't have. I've always believed in that broadcast saying, we under-promise and over-deliver. So in this instance, we're saying, ooh, this could be a real big hit on your taxes, but it might not. So if you're prepared for 3.5% and it turns out to be 1.7, you'll be ecstatic. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. They've commissioned $3.9 million, and this is just like 30% of the project. It's the planning, where the pipes go, all that stuff.
And I think some of that money, too, is to build some sports fields in Briar Run, which is up next to the
actually, that
marble.
is a separate issue.
I thought they were kind of...
they were presented at the same time, but all they really okayed funding for was the development of a plan for the Southside Recreation Center. Briar Run is a separate project, separate part of town, and I do believe it will probably come up to next council to review that. Yeah. Obviously, because there's no more council meetings here.
No, they have said sayonara.
Yeah. They didn't get to say all their thank yous and goodbyes.
No.
Except for Allison Knodel. That was it last night.
Yeah. I have referred to this on several of the podcasts that on October 20th, I have a very valuable currency that I only get to spend once every 4 years, and that is an X beside a certain candidate's name. Why should I spend my X beside Jay Hitchen's name?
Well, I am what you see. I've always been a public individual. I'm not different in private than I am behind the microphone. I am genuinely who I am. I believe in doing the best. I believe in working the hardest. I believe in understanding the issues. I believe in listening first and acting second. I want to make an informed decision, and I want to do it on the best interest of all involved. I have no other ulterior motives other than giving back to a community that has given to me over 35 years now. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my life in Medicine Hat. And I know it can be better. And I also know that I have skills that would aid in that transition to a better tomorrow.
So after 35 years, are you a Hatter?
No.
Why not?
You must know that by now, Brian. If you weren't born here, you don't get to wear that hat. It's just, and this is my friends that have been born here.
Yeah.
Now, whether this is a sentiment or not, but actually I have heard from a few that said it's even more extreme than that. You have to be third generation before you're considered a true Hatter.
Okay, well, then I qualify.
Yeah, but although there was a vote, as you probably saw at the forum, so
So
I've been given the honorary Hatter hat.
Honorary or ornery, I'm not sure which.
Well, ornery could be one of them as well.
Jay Hitchen, thank you very much, and good luck on October 20th.
And good luck with the continuation of this podcast. You're doing a great job, Brian.
Thank you.